Hi everybody, here's this month's club game, which is going to be something a little bit different. We're going to be playing the action on Sword Beach during the Normandy landings in 1944. We're going to be using the Battlegroup wargame rules, and the first thing that you'll notice is the rather spectacular terrain boards that we're going to be using for this game. We've actually got two of them, and these were all custom made by Phil Mansfield, who's going to be our umpire today, and I hope you'll agree that they do look incredibly impressive. Here we see the initial setup of the German forces. They're going to be in and around various strong points in the town of Weestrum on the game board that we're going to be using for the main landings. We also have a secondary table which is going to show the glider landings at Pegasus Bridge, and this will determine whether the Germans receive any panzer reinforcements on the beaches or not. So the game gets underway. The Germans have got some off-board artillery which they start trying to damage the incoming landing craft. Unfortunately for the British, one is hit almost immediately, but the British do have offshore batteries and battleships to counter with, and they're firing into the town at the known strong points. And simultaneously on the Pegasus Bridge game we have the paratroopers landing by gliders and go rushing into the attack to try and take the bridge as quickly as they possibly can before the panzers arrive. Here we can see the main landing now getting underway on the beach, with the British infantry and their tank support coming on quite strongly, but they come under attack almost immediately by the off-table German artillery, which causes a few casualties and actually forces a lot of the British infantry to go to ground, so it starts stalling their advance. The British at Pegasus Bridge meanwhile storm across the bridge. There's no hanging about there, but they do incur quite heavy casualties in doing so. And here we can see back on the beach again the German artillery shelling the British infantry and causing them to dig in. But nearer the town of Weestrum, the British infantry is now getting up and trying to get into the town. They want to push in as fast as they can and start taking a few of the strong points. The British have got the bulk of their forces on their left flank, and they've only got sort of a covering force on the right flank, who unfortunately get bogged down in the minefields and are not going to be very effective in the game. British at Pegasus Bridge meanwhile, they've managed to get across to the other side of the bank and are now getting themselves ready for a push into the buildings on the opposite bank. And the British down on the beach now managing to get themselves up to the sea wall in preparation of assaulting into the town. The game will depend on them taking various strong points in the town to win, so they don't have an awful lot of time to hang around in the comparative safety of the cover of the sea wall. Not helping is the fact that the German artillery is quite accurate and starts taking out one or two of the British tanks and armoured fighting vehicles. This all helps to stall the attack. Meanwhile at Pegasus Bridge the German panzers have started to arrive, which is going to slow the paratroopers up quite considerably. British meanwhile on the beach pushing up, not quite as quickly as they would probably want. They use the offshore batteries again to shell the known strong points to help break them down. But meanwhile at Pegasus Bridge the Luftwaffe manages to get in a single attack, which proves to be ineffective, and the British paratroopers have a few more reinforcements that have arrived, and they need to try and get across the bridge as well and capture the buildings on the opposite bank. The assault on the beach is incredibly slow, and we only see one British tank managing to sort of make an attempt to get off the beach. Infantry meanwhile manages to get over the sea wall and capture one of the strong points, and they start to push into the main German HQ area to try and capture another. British forces getting ready to assault the casino, but the Germans put in a fairly strong counterattack and managed to push the British forces out of the strong point that they've managed to capture in Weestrum. And with the lone tank that's managed to push inland, even though the British have effectively captured the bridge at Pegasus, the landing unfortunately is deemed to have failed, and the victory goes to the Germans. That's a bit of a shame.